Hey everyone, welcome to another video by Python Pool. In this video, we'll be seeing a simple snake game using Python. So let me show you the demo program. Our program would be like this. In which we'll be playing the game. And once we touch the food, it will increase our snake's length. And the food would be random, placed anywhere in this rectangular box. And we'll be using Pygame GUI, not Tkinter today. And once it passes the rectangle, it will say you lost, and press C to play again and Q to quit. And once you press C, it will start the game once again. And once you press Q, it will quit the game. Okay, so let's see how we designed this game. Let me code a test file first, test.py. So we'll be using Pygame for the GUI, and we'll be using time module and random module also. So let's import that modules. Let's import Pygame, and let's import time and random too. Okay, once you are done with the importing, we'll be initialize this Pygame. So Pygame should be initialized. Okay, so we have initialized the Pygame. So now we will be using some of the colors, and Pygame recognize color only with their hex codes. So let's define some of the colors. I'll define white. I'll be using white. So let's define white. It should have a code of 255, 255 and 255. And once we're done with the white, then let's say yellow. We'll be using yellow. It has the color code 255. It's just a statistical data. You can find it on internet or anywhere else. So just take a reference from there or from this video itself. It is 102. And we'll be using black. So black should be 0, 0, 0 and 0. We will also be using red. So let's define the red here. Red should be 213, 50 and 80. We'll also using green and blue. So let's give the green has 0, 255 and 0. And last one is blue. Blue is 50, 153 and 213. So we'll be using these colors for our GUI window for different fonts and different settings, like for the game snake different color, for the food different color, for the window different color, for the fonts different color. Okay, so we'll be initializing a variable root in which our Pygame window would be displayed. So let's define it. Let's give Pygame dot display dot set mode, set the mode, and mode should be have let's give it 700 and 400. So okay, we'll be comparing the height and width of the window with the snake. So let's store it in a variable. Let's give root width, let's give it 700, and of course a root height, let's give it 400. It would be enough for all our stuffs. And let's pass these variables here. So let's pass root width and root height here. Perfect. Now let's give a name to our window. So we'll be using display set caption function for this one. So Pygame dot display dot set caption, and set the caption to anything like snake game or anything. Let me stick to snake game right now. Okay, and we will be also initializing the clock, which will help the snake to move forward or backward. So clock should be Pygame dot time dot clock. we'll be importing that from here. Okay, so our snake block should be of a definite size, that is 10, and we'll be also define the snake speed. So snake speed, let's say 15. Let's set it here. Okay, we'll be also using font, so we'll be setting the font in the font style or score font, different fonts for different labels, or you could say text. So set font Pygame dot font dot sysfont, and for the font style I'll give ban serif serif 25, and for the score font we'll be giving a different type of font, let's say Comic Sans. So let's copy this from here, Control C, let's paste it here, and let's change the name. Let me give Comic Sans MS, and let me increase the size, let's say 35. Okay, now we'll be creating every function for every functionality, every feature we'll be creating the function. So first of all, displaying the score, so let me say it as your score function, and we'll take score as an argument, and value should be score dot font dot render. This value would be showing on the screen. So what would be the value? The value should have the text, that is your score, and of course the score string, so string score, and it should be true. Yes, it should be true. Everything else should be true, and color should be yellow. Okay, so now we use grid function in the Tkinter to place the labels and all the text. We'll be using blit function here. So root dot blit what? Blit this value, and where? To the 0th x position and the 0th y position. Okay, that's what we have done with this your score function. Now we'll be seeing the snake function, how our snake would be looking. So we'll be designing our snake in next function. Let's name it our snake. And it should have the snake block as an argument, and of course the snake list. We'll be creating this snake list once we'll proceeding to the actual game logic. We'll be creating this list which will store the data, which will store the food in the list, how many times the food will be eaten by the snake, it will append to the list. So let's pass this list here. So for x in this list, or for I in this list, we programmers are actually obsessed with I and j values, so let's give it I. For in this list you need to draw pygame.draw rectangle to where? Rectangle to root, should have a color of black, should have a color of black, should be of the size of snake block, sorry, should be placed where? Should have a color of black and should be placed at ith 0 position and in the x-axis, and ith 1 position, first position in the y-axis. Okay, and should have a snake block as the size and snake block as y size. These are the sizes. Okay, so we'll be drawing for every snake, we'll be adding this type of rectangle in the snake. So, okay, so this is the function which will define our snake. Now we'll define a message function. When the user moves the game or when the user wants to quit the game, it will show the message. So message function, and it will take message and an argument, and in which color the message should be passed, it will take it as an argument. So it will create a message first of all, like creating the value. So it should create the font style dot render. Okay, and render what? Render message, and it should be true. The message should be true, and color which we provided here, it will render in this color. Okay, once again the blade function for placing this message. So root.blade. So blade what? Blade message, and of course its place. So let's give it at root width by 6th position. So by 6, 1/6 of root width should have a here, and should have a root height by 3. This should be the size of our message. Okay, once we are done with that, now we'll be proceeding to our actual logic of the game, which we'll be creating in this game loop function. Okay, first of all we need a variable to if the game is over. Since now game is not over, when the function will be called, game would be started, so it should be false. And also the game quit, because we are offering the option to press Q while quitting the game. So we'll be creating this variable too. So game close should also be false. Okay, let's define the x1 and y1 variable for our snake initially. So let's define x1. Our snake should be placed at root width by 2, and of course root height by 2. So y1 should be root height by 2. Okay, so once again we'll be changing this position of the snake. So let's create one more variable. Let's name it xChange, and it will dynamically change its position. So let's now keep it as 0, and of course a y1 change also. Let's keep it as 0. Okay, now this, remember this snake list, we'll be creating an empty list here. So let's create snake list here. Oh sorry, why are we giving so much of space? Let's create the snake list here. It should be the empty list, and all the variables, all the values should be appended in this list. And length of snake should be 1. Length of snake should be 1. Done. Now let's place the food in the x-axis should be the round off of, we'll be doing the calculation. It should be random, of course, and random in the range. Rand range should be 0 to root width. It will be root width minus snake block, not of course the snake block, where the snake block is. So food should be between this 0 to root width, and should not be at the snake block position where the snake itself is. Food should not be placed there. Okay, it should not overlap with the snake in the x-axis. And once we are done this, we will be dividing this by 10.0, and after all rounding off these values, will be multiplying it with 10.0. Okay, same we'll be doing with food y also. So let's copy this one, let's give it here, let's give food y here, and we'll be changing this width to root height. Of course for the y-axis we'll be using root height. Okay, finally we are done. So now we'll be defining the logic for the playing the game. So while not game over, if game over is not true, then you should run this loop. And while game close also should not be true. So while game close equals to true, you'll be playing this while loop, executing this while loop, and root should fill it with blue color. Root should fill it with blue color, and when this game close will be true, that's when the user lose the game. So root should be filled with blue color, and of course a message would be displayed here. So we'll be calling this message function, and we'll be passing the message. Message would be let's say you lost, press C to play again. Press C to play again, and Q to quit the game. We'll be passing this message, and of course we'll be passing what it is expecting us. It is expecting the color, so let's pass the red color here. The message should be in the red color. So we'll be calling this function here. It will displaying us the message. Okay, and of course our score would be calculated here. Our score should be the length of snake minus 1. How much the length of the snake would be? It should be -1. That is our score, and we should update our Pygame window. So pygame.display should be updated. So pygame.display should be update. Now if the game is not over, so while executing this while loop, if the game is over, we'll be executing this while loop. But if the game is not over, we'll be out of this loop and we'll be defining the actual logic for playing the game. So for event, every action taken in the window is called as event. So for event in pygame dot event dot get, for every event, if user presses the game, if event dot type is pressing the keyword, that is pygame dot, how we see that user press the keyword. So user press the key, so by key down. So this would be the function which will detect if the user presses any key. So if user presses any key, so now we need to check which key user press. So if the event key is event dot key is, sorry, not if it is pygame dot k, and if it is q, if user presses q, so what we'll be doing, we'll be using the game over should be true. When user presses q, that it needs to quit the game, so game over should be true, and game close should be false. Game close should be false, that is displaying that message should be false. So let's give it false. And if the pressed key is case C, and if it presses the key with C, if event dot key equals to pygame dot k C, if it is case C, then what you need to do, you need to call this loop once again. If it is C, then what you need to do, then you need to call this loop once again. Okay, so we'll be using recursion here. We'll be calling this game loop once again, and it will once again rerun our game. So game loop should be called once again here. Perfect example of recursion. And if it is not in this, if it is not in this one, sorry, this for loop, I'm so sorry, this for loop is inside this while loop. That's what I'm wondering. After displaying the message, when user presses the key as Q, it will quit the game, and when user presses key as C, it will rerun the game. Now if the game loop, if the game close is not true, if user didn't lose the game, if user still playing the game, what we need to do, for event in, if user is playing the game right now, he or she would be using the key, open keys, up keys, down keys, left key, right key for moving the snake and for eating the foods. So we'll be designing that logic here. So pygame.event get, for every event in the pygame, if event.type equals to pygame dot quit. If it quits the window, then quit the game, then game over should be true. So if the user quits the window, so then game over should be true. It should be true. Make it true. And if user presses the key buttons, that is up key, down key, left key, right key, if user presses that one, so we'll see how our snake would be changing. So if the event type is pressing the key, that is pygame dot key down, this key down. If it is pressing any key, then we'll be see which key it would be pressing. So if event dot key equals to pygame dot k, and that is left, k left. If it is pressing the left key, we'll be designing the logic here, that is change the x1 position should be changed, and it should be set to minus of snake block. If it is pressing the left key, then we'll be using minus x direction, so it should be minus of the x snake block direction. And it should not be any change in y1, so y1 change should be 0. And same for the similar for the right key, up key, down key. So let's copy it once again, let's paste it here, let's paste it here, let's paste it here, and let's paste it here. We did for the left, we need to do for the right one, right, we need to do for the up one, so k up, and we need to do for the down one, so k down, k down. Okay, this should be positive one. If it is pressing the right key, then it should be in the rightmost direction, and in this should be 0 because we are moving up and down, so we will not be moving in the horizontal axis. So x1 change should be 0, and this should be minus of snake block because our positive y-axis is downwards. So if it is moving upwards, then it is minus of snake block, and similar here it should be 0 and it should be plus of snake block. That's what our game logic would be. Okay, and once we are done with that one, we need to move out from this for loop. We need to move out here, and now check for the errors. If it increases the root width, or if it is less than 0, if it is minus, x1 is minus, so what would we like to do? We would like to close the game. We would like to display the error and close the game. So if x1 is greater than or equals to root width, or x1 is less than 0, x1 which is the position of x1, that is 0 0, that is the middle, which is the initial position of our snake. If it is greater than root width, we should quit the game. If it is less than 0, then we should quit the game. Or similar for the y1, so y1 if greater than or equals to root height, or y1 is less than 0, then what we need to do, we need to, this game close should be true. We need to set that to true. And once it is not there, what we need to do, we need to update our x1 and y1. So x1 should be plus equals to x1 dot change, x1 underscore change, and similarly y1 should be plus equals to y1 underscore change. Okay, and we need to fill our window to the blue color. So root dot fill the window with blue color, and of course pygame draw the rectangle. So pygame dot draw dot rectangle, a rectangle to where? Rectangle to root, should have a green color, and this is for the food, so it should have a placement of food x and food y, of course, and in between the snake block and snake block should have the size in this between. Okay, so now every time the snake eats the food, its head should be changed. It should add one food block to its head. So let's create one empty list which will append every time the snake would eat the food. So let's give it a name as snake head. It is an empty list and it should append the values. Snake head should append the values in the x-axis also, that is x1 once snake eats the food, and snake head should append the values once again of the y1 also. Okay, and after appending this one value, that is one food block, the snake ate one food block, the whole of the snake list should be changed. So snake list should be bigger of size of by one block. So what snake head do? Snake head appends the food value, but snake list should append the snake value, that it should increase the snake size. So we'll be calling this snake list here, snake list, and it should append what? It should append the whole of the snake head value. So it should append snake head value. And now if our length of the snake list, length of snake list, the length of snake list is greater than the length of snake. If it is greater than the length of snake, what it needs to do? It needs to delete its 0th position. So snake list should delete, and delete what? Delete its 0th position. And now we'll be defining the logic. If we are moving the same direction and all of a sudden we'll change our direction to the opposite. If we are moving upwards, we press the down key, it will change the direction to the down. But it will work only and only if the snake has not eaten any food. If the snake has eaten the food, it should bite itself, game should be lost. Once you bite yourself, game should be lost. So first we need to check for x in snake list, snake list, and slicing it from the backwards, that is -1, slicing it from the backwards. And if the x equals to snake head, if it is equals to snake head, if the direction is actually changed, then what you need to do? You need to close the game and you need to set that to true. Okay, and once everything is done, we'll be calling this rSnake function to display the snake. So rSnake function, and it should have a snake block, and of course a snake list. Snake box should be initial size and snake list should be the length of the snake. And we'll be also calling our function your score, so it will update the score. So once snake will eat one food, it will update the score. Once again it will eat another food, it will update the score. So let's call this function and let's pass the score as length of snake -1. So if because the snake initially is of length 1, so our score should not be start with 1, it should start with 0. So we'll be passing all the scores which is 1 less than length of the snake. Okay, so and now we need to update our display. So pygame dot display should update. Okay, now if x1 equals to food x, that is snake head is at the food x, and of course we need to check the y value also. So y1 equals to food y. If it is there, then what we need to do? We need to again place the food. So this is the condition when the snake will eat the food. So if the snake eats the food, we will also like to disappear that food from there and appear it anywhere else. So let's call once again random function here, the same random function here, which we defined earlier, where we defined it. Let's see where we defined it here. So let's copy this one. Once again, we need to place this according to our needs. So let's paste it here. Let's give it a padding. Okay, so we need to define the same logic once again. Once the snake eats the food, it should disappear from there and appear to anywhere else position. Okay, and the length of snake should be increased by 1. So length of snake should be plus equals to 1. Okay, and now let's define the speed of our clock. Let's define the speed of the snake clock. So in which speed the snake would be moving, that is clock dot tick, and it should have a speed of snake that we defined earlier, that we defined at the very start. You remember this? This we defined it here. It should move with the same speed. So clock should be moving with this speed. And once we are done with this one, we need our Pygame to be quit. So pygame.quit, and quit function should be called to quit our Tkinter, not Tkinter, to quit our game loop window. So and game loop function should be called. So let's run our program and see how it looks. So let's run Python test.py. Let's see how it looks. Okay, pygame.time has no attribute clock. It has no attribute as clock. Okay, it is in line 19. Let's see. Oh, clock should be of capital C. That's what is the main function there. So let's run it once again. Python test.py. Let's see if it works. Int is not callable. Okay, let's see if it does the work. Let's run it once again. Clear, sorry, not clear, Python test.py. Yeah, it runs. So let's see if it is the food. Oh, let's play it once again. I'm extremely bad at this. Once I left this, yes, it is increasing our score. It is eating the food. The food is randomly placed at another position. Okay, it's worked perfectly fine. And once we press Q, it's okay, it quits the game. So that's it from this video. I hope you like this video. Thank you. Have a great day ahead.